Okay, picture this. You're sitting at your kitchen table, you've got your retirement statement in your hand, and the number staring back at you says $44,000. You kind of blink, you read it twice, then you pick up your phone, and literally the very first headline on your screen says, the average American retirement account just hit an all-time record of $167,000. Same country, same year, same economy. And, if you're like most people, you do the only thing a reasonable person can do with that information. You just assume you're behind. You fold that statement in half, shove it in a drawer, and quietly feel like a total failure.
But here's the really crazy thing about that headline. The guy with the $44,000 account, let's call him Desmond Ruiz, he's an HVAC installer in Ohio. He is actually the most statistically normal man in America. Spoiler alert, he's not behind at all. So throughout this explainer, we're going to uncover why neither Desmond's statement nor that sky-high headline is lying, and why the space between them is probably the most expensive piece of misinformation in your entire financial life.
Section 1. The Average American Myth. Finding the Ghost in the Machine.
So let's dive into this and find the man hiding inside that massive financial gap, because he is absolutely real, and he's entirely warping your reality. To get this, we just need to look at a simple math trick that happens whenever we talk about the average American. Almost always, they actually mean the mean. They add everyone's money up, divide by the number of people, and print that number. But that number is totally useless. Why? Well, imagine you put 9 guys who make $50,000 a year into a room with one guy who makes $10 million. The mean income in that room is now just under $1.5 million. Congratulations! On paper, everybody in that room is a millionaire. Except 9 of them are still wondering how they're going to pay for a broken transmission, right? Now, the median is different. The median is the person standing in the exact middle of the line. Half the country is ahead of him, half is behind him. And this right here brilliantly illustrates the core issue we're facing. Desmond Ruiz, with his $44,000, represents the median retirement balance. He's the guy in the middle. But that $167,000 average from the headline, that's completely skewed by people like Gerald, a highly successful orthodontist with $2.1 million in his account. Desmond is quietly measuring his self-worth against Gerald, a wealthy outlier who just pulls the mean all the way up. Desmond is literally comparing himself to a ghost.
Moving on to Section 2, the $400 emergency trap, survival on layaway. Let's see how this builds in the day-to-day crises by looking at a beautifully simple question asked by the Federal Reserve every single year. And look, this isn't a massive medical crisis we're talking about here. This is just a set of brake pads. This is a water heater making a weird clanking noise that you've generously decided to interpret as a personality quirk. We are literally just talking about $400 in cash.
So the crucial point here is that roughly 37% say no. Nearly 4 in 10 adults in the richest country in human history cannot absorb a $400 hit without borrowing. And what happens when that hit lands? Obviously, it goes right onto a credit card.
Now take a look at the really ugly math that happens next. Say you've got an average $2,000 balance on a card with a 22% interest rate. Your minimum payment is about $40. Out of that $40, $36 goes straight to interest, and only a measly $4 actually touches your debt. You're paying $40 a month just to move the needle by $4. That's not a payment plan. That is a subscription to your own past. And that's exactly how Americans paid $160 billion in credit card interest in a single year.
Section 3. Driving away your wealth. The toll booth with a steering wheel.
If the credit card is the wound, the car is the weapon that causes the absolute most long-term financial damage. The average payment on a new car in America right now is roughly $770 a month. And get this, nearly 1 in 5 new car buyers are signing up for payments over $1,000 a month, just for the privilege of sitting in traffic in a slightly nicer chair.
What's really wild is how long these loans have gotten. We've stretched from 60 months to 72, all the way to 84-month schedules. Guys, 84 months used to be a loan term strictly reserved for buying a house. And because of this, subprime auto delinquencies have been pushed to the highest levels ever recorded. People simply need a car to get to the job that pays for the car. It acts like a toll booth with a steering wheel.
But I really want you to look at this math. If you took that average $770 monthly payment and just invested it at an 8% annual return over 40 years, it compounds to roughly $2.4 million. The average American is not too poor to become a millionaire. The average American is just being forced to finance a depreciating asset instead of buying an appreciating one.
Section 4. The true cost of living. Arithmetic that stopped working.
Let's zoom out to the macro scale now and think about real people, like Renata. She's a 29-year-old dental hygienist making $58,000 a year. She's not frivolous at all. But every Sunday night, she's juggling multiple buy now, pay later apps just to buy groceries, because payday is Friday and her kid needs to eat on Tuesday. She's doing arithmetic across 4 different screens just to figure out what day she can buy chicken. And Renata is definitely not alone. As a nation, total household debt just crossed $18.8 trillion. And no, it's not a pile of luxury yachts. It's $13 trillion in houses people actually needed to live in, $1.5 trillion in cars to get to work, $1.5 trillion in degrees they were told they had to have, and a little over $1 trillion in credit cards that mostly bought things like groceries and brake pads. This is a country putting its own basic survival on layaway. And because of all this, the safety net is completely breaking. Remember Desmond's $44,000 median retirement? Yeah, that safely pays out about $147 a month, which is exactly why 78% of retirees are completely relying on Social Security. Right now, we're watching people improvise around this crisis in real time. Hardship withdrawals from 401ks have tripled, jumping from 2% to 6%. The retirement account has literally become the emergency fund because the actual emergency fund just doesn't exist. And this is all happening while the Social Security Trust Fund is projected to run dry around late 2032, which means an automatic 23% haircut is looming right on the horizon.
Now, I promised you the absolute worst number of all at the very beginning of this explainer, the one that keeps me awake at 2 a.m. Because, look, all of these statistics we just covered, they sound like individual failures, but they're really a story of a system where the basic arithmetic has just stopped working.
Officially, the median American household net worth is right around $192,900. But even that number hides the cold, hard reality of everyday life. If you strip out home equity, because let's be totally honest, you cannot eat your kitchen, the true median net worth of the American household collapses to just $57,900. That's the entire cushion. That roughly $58,000 has to cover unexpected layoffs, bad medical diagnoses, random emergencies, and 30 years of being old. That is the number that should keep you up at night.
All right, Section 5, Fixing the Crooked Ruler. Change the default setting.
Okay, let's talk solutions. Take a deep breath, because the really good news here is that financial fragility isn't human nature. It's a system setting, and somebody chose it, which means we can actually change it. We know this for a fact because of the most successful piece of retirement policy in modern history. When a 401k is opt-in, meaning you have to actively sign up for it yourself, participation sits at about 64%. But when companies automatically enroll you, participation rockets up to 94%. We're talking about the exact same humans with the exact same willpower and the exact same wages. It's a massive 30-point difference simply because the default checkbox was moved. It proves that we can fix our financial lives without having to rely on heroic daily discipline.
So here is exactly how you move your own default checkbox. Step 1. Automate your transfer on payday, so the money leaves your account before you become a person with opinions about it. Step 2. Raise your contribution by just 1%, just one time. Step 3. Forget you even did it. This is exactly how Desmond tweaked his defaults. He bumped his contribution up slightly and set it to repeat automatically so he wouldn't ever have to be brave about it twice.
If you've been sitting there feeling that specific, quiet shame about your finances, I really need you to hear this. You've spent your entire life comparing yourself to Gerald's ghost. You were handed a system where you're told to budget better by an industry that makes $160 billion a year off the fact that you can't. You are not behind. You were simply measured with a ruler that was built crooked on purpose.
You didn't come up short, guys. You were just handed the wrong numbers from the start. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this one question to ask yourself today. Will you keep letting a mathematical ghost define your self-worth, or are you finally ready to change your defaults? Go get the right numbers, automate your path forward, and take back control of your financial reality.